Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining. Uh, Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us for a very special web event. I'd now like to pass the floor to our presenter today, Sean Blanton, a product marketing manager with Mojo Networks.
Welcome, everybody, joining today and watching into the future. As Erica mentioned, my name is Sean Blanton. I'm the product marketing manager here at Mojo Networks, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about driving user engagement via cloud-managed Wi-Fi. We're going to start by first looking at a study that was done last year and start to pull apart and uncover some truths about engagement, especially as it relates in kind of the wider retail world. We're not just talking about stores necessarily, but any place you would go where you can interact with a business. That could be banks, it could be doctor and dental offices. There are a lot of applications of engagement and a lot of businesses out there that don't typically consider themselves apt for technology like this. So we're going to talk a little bit about those truths. We're going to look at the Wi-Fi engagement workflow. So really understanding from start to finish what's involved, what are the opportunities that we have to engage. We'll highlight some key definitions before we hop into a demo. And I'm hope to really give you a view for what Mojo can do to help drive user engagement. So let's look at some of these truths. Now, this particular study was done by a group called Hypothesis. They're a premier consumer and insights agency based in Los Angeles. The results of thousands and thousands of focus groups really helped them to put together and consolidate these ideas. And I wanted to share a couple of them that I thought were very apt for our conversation today. So the first is about your brand. And I think this is really important to focus on because, number one, it's important to understand that the truth about your brand is that it is the impression others have of you. As much as you might try to define your brand, as much as you might think that your brand is what you make of it, that has an impact, don't get me wrong. But fundamentally, what others think about you, what they perceive your brand to be, is what your brand is. And so that's really important to know, especially as we really dive into user engagement via Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi is an extension of your brand, just like your store is, just like your website, just like your sales staff, just like your supply chain and your logistics organization. All of these elements comprise your brand, and they leave an impression on your end customer. They leave an impression on your end consumer. Excuse me. So it's really important to know this. And as I mentioned, a lot of organizations don't put as much stock in understanding what brand is as they should. The second thing I thought was really interesting is that the brand is affected as much by the experience as it is by the product. Again, this goes back to that first understanding that your brand is the impression others have of you. My interaction with the business is just as important as the actual product I'm going to purchase. In many cases, it can be more important, especially if going and visiting a particular business is part of the buying experience. And again, that experience, how I move through a store, how I interact with it, how I interact with the people that are there, what type of information is provided for me, all of that influences my perception of the brand. It may be really slick. It may be exactly identifiable based off of who I am and what I'm interested in. But if my experience is lacking, then my overall impression will be negative. It's important to understand that the experience should encourage interaction without obligation. So this is a really interesting idea. When consumers go into a particular environment, they expect an immersive experience. And they're, in many cases, looking for one that invites them to linger without obligation, without the idea that I have to pay to play. And so by encouraging interaction, but in some cases, limiting or even removing the obligation of having to produce something in order to interact, this is important. And what we're going to see here is that a lot of what we talk about as it relates to Wi-Fi, there is an exchange. There is a I'm going to give you this, and I would like to receive this in return. In some cases, it's the flip. I'd like you to tell me something about yourself in order for me to share something. Um, what I want to really emphasize here is that there are other ways that we can encourage interaction without any requirement for exchange. But it's also important to understand that that exchange is two ways. So that's where the obligation starts to fall away, is when the exchange is both ways, especially if we are the ones providing the first part of that exchange. And finally, the experience should provide a compelling benefit. And that compelling benefit could fall in a lot of different ways. It could be promotions and coupons, something that's directly impacting my buying experience. But it can also be activities, both in the store. It could be external activities, events, concerts, things that I might go to on behalf of the brand, but are not necessarily directly related to my shopping experience. These could be sensory items within the particular branch. It could be extra services that might be provided. It could also be knowledge transfer. There's a lot that has been seen about brands that give their customers ideas. They show them how their product can be used. And again, I want to emphasize that product is not necessarily something physical. I'm not talking about a gadget or a consumable. That product could be a service. Again, think retail banking. Think about the different types of accounts that you can offer, the different services that a bank provides for you, mortgages and brokerage accounts, and all of these different items are important in their products. So to give ideas, to share information through various mediums, to show examples of how other people are using this particular product, these are very compelling. So we look at these particular truths, and they're really going to help influence how we're leveraging Wi-Fi to drive user engagement. So when you look at Mojo holistically, so Mojo Networks, we are a fully integrated cloud-managed platform for Wi-Fi. What that means, very simply, is that whether you're looking at Wi-Fi in the context of access, connecting clients to the network, with security, protecting your clients from wireless threats, and then engagement, which is interacting and engaging with your wireless clients, we have a complete platform that supports you from start to finish. And today, we're really going to be focusing on that engagement component, because here we're going to really drive engagement, and we're going to do so and support you from start to finish. What does that workflow look like? The workflow here starts with installation and configuration. I need to set everything up before I can start to engage. And so in our world, we're really looking at captive portal configuration. Yes, there are all the elements that go into designing your guest network from a networking perspective, making sure that it's secure, making sure that it's optimized. And that's all really important, but that's a topic for another webinar. Today, we're going to be looking at the captive portal, the components that define how my guests connect to my network. And that involves both the design of the splash page, which you're going to find to be a central theme in our conversation today, due to all that talk we had about brand and the impression that it can leave on people, but also our authentication plugins, the methods by which your guests connect to the network. We have a lot of options, and the options really play a part in the overall experience. So we're going to really dive deep into some of these plugins, and we're going to understand what they are and how they function. The second stage is monitoring and optimizing, turning the knobs, making sure that the experience is consistent, but also at its highest level. And this involves looking at and really diving into analytics. Analytics exist at a lot of different levels. We have Wi-Fi analytics. Wi-Fi analytics are the data points that we collect from our network. Everything that we're seeing, all the users that are connecting. We tend to look at Wi-Fi analytics in the context of anonymity, because we're not interested or even understanding the individual at this point. What we're looking at are larger trends, and we're going to be able to uncover some behaviors and extrapolate on certain anomalies that exist within the data itself. Engagement analytics is a deeper dive, and this is where I'm starting to really understand the individual. The individual could be a singular person, but it also looks at demographics, gender, location, age groups. All of these different elements are really, really important in painting a picture of my customer base. Not necessarily holistically. We know that there are many of our customers who may not leverage our Wi-Fi services, may not be interested, or may not share information about themselves. But understanding who does a lot about who engages with us at that medium. And that is really, really important because as we look at the third stage, response and action, this is where we're starting to reach back. So we have automated data migration. This is the automated action of taking all that data that's coming in that we just talked about and pushing it into third party. Now, these systems may be data repositories, and that's great because they may have ways of correlating this data over top of other data that you collect. They may have more customized ways of scraping through the data and presenting it in ways that really are meaningful to the business. But these systems can also be leveraged for direct response. We have technology partners, and there's a lot of really great platforms out there that take incoming data from Wi-Fi networks and use that as a filter or as a trigger to now send a response. It may be via email. It may be via SMS or MMS. It may be other means that we can actively respond based off of the incoming data. The real-time presence alerting is all about proximity. I want to understand who's around. I want to understand when they're there and when they've come back. And if we're taking this information, then we can react to that. Again, this could be in the form of an automated trigger where some other form of media or email or SMS or MMS or something else is sent out. It could also be representative of informing sales staff, letting sales staff know that this person has come back. This person has opted to interact at a certain level, and it allows the salespeople to create an experience that is immersive, that is helpful, and it builds for the customer as they're walking in the door. And then that customer outreach is just an extension of that. It's the ability to create new services, to develop those compelling benefits that in understanding who our customer base is, we can really tailor them. And we can make sure that they are precisely what our customer base is looking for so that they have the best experience possible. So this workflow, again, is from start to finish, it really finishes. Let's be honest. It's very circular in that regard. There are lots of times where we are being dynamic. We're changing. It may be seasonal. It may be to talk about new product launches. In some cases, it could be reactive to how our customers are responding, both positively and negatively. So there's a lot that we can do to respond and find our way back to the first stage of installation and configuration. All right, so before we dive into the demo, let's understand a couple of really key definitions that I'm going to be talking about today. And I want to make sure that I'm not using terms that may be lost, that may be unsure or unclear. The first is this concept of showrooming. Showrooming is the idea that, it's the practice of visiting a store or stores in order to examine a product before buying it online at a lower price. This is the perennial fear of brick and mortar, the idea that I am providing an opportunity for customers to learn about a product, but I'm not providing them with the means to buy that product. So they're going someplace else, either to a competitive site, to an online marketplace. And this is troubling. This can hurt sales and can also eat up other costs, sales costs and operational costs. So this idea of showrooming is ever present, and we're going to be talking about this today in the context of our response and action. Interception. Interception is the practice of triggering a response when a user visits a very specific website or group of websites. Again, interception is a response. It gives us an opportunity to see what somebody is doing when they're on the network, and send something as a result. And we're going to talk about different ways of intercepting and the different applications. But know that interception is very closely tied to this concept of showrooming as a response to show. And then finally, injection. Injection is a really key idea here. It's the practice of inserting custom scripts into a web browser during an active session. Simply put, it's an opportunity for us to inject banners, to inject overlays, to input content into the web browser while my customers are browsing the web. We can do it passively and we do it actively. And what this allows me to do is to continue to communicate, to do so very subtly. In some cases it's very overt, but it's very low touch. And we put a lot of control at the end of the customer to respond to that injection. But this is an opportunity for us to engage with zero obligation. And that's really key. So that's one of the truths we talked about, and we want to see what we can do to dive deeper into that. All right, so without further ado, let's move into our demo environment, and let's actually start to look at some of these really core feature sets. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to show you captive portal configuration. Right, this is that first step. This is where we're beginning to set up our environment. So in doing so, what I have here is my demo environment, my social Wi-Fi network, and what I have are my authentication plugins. So that was a term we used before, and what you can see here are these plugins are very varied. We have an opportunity to engage at a lot of different levels. One of the most primary is, of course, social media. So you see here that we have 6 social media platforms on which we can engage. What these allow us to do is allow for the end user to use their social media credentials to authenticate to our network. This leverages a process known as open authentication. It's a technique by which our guests connect and use their Facebook credentials, for example, to sign into that social media platform. The platform, leveraging its API, will communicate back to the access point this guest is allowed to go through. And that's how the guest gets onto the network. But this has some really great advantages. For one, it's a very easy process. As you'll see when we talk about captive portal design, or rather splash page design, connecting through Facebook or any social media platform is typically a one-click step. And that's easy. And we want to provide an easy method to get onto the network. But what's also really great about social media is this idea that through social media, we can gather some really great data. So Facebook especially gives us the opportunity to ask for some basic profile information, but we also support at Mojo the ability to grab some extended profile permissions, email addresses, birthdays, and location. And with this information, we can really start to populate a really strong database of demographic details. So we're learning about our end customers, who's leveraging our Wi-Fi services, who's looking to engage, and providing us with direct means to respond to that. The other really amazing element of social media is this idea of liking or following, as many other platforms use the term. In line with signing onto the Wi-Fi, I can present the opportunity for that end consumer to like my page, to follow me on that platform. And this is huge. This is a critical piece to any social media strategy, getting people to actually like your social media page. It can be frustratingly difficult because you might have all this amazing content on social media. You might be really trying to get ahead of leveraging this platform as a way to communicate your brand, to communicate new products, to engage with your end users. It's extending beyond the store. But if no one is following you, no one can hear you. And so activating those social users is a very challenging step. And this is a way for us to put it directly in line with the Wi-Fi sign-on process. And again, these are the types, when we're starting to engage with people at this level, what we're finding through our experience and our conversations with our customers is that guests that are interested in engaging, those who push that Facebook button to begin with, are interested in sharing information and are interested in the benefits that come from that. And that also means they're interested in liking and following, learning more. They're engaged. What you're doing is you're providing a very easy way for them to do that, a way that may not have been presented to them in the past. And I can speak from my own personal experience as a consumer that there are lots of businesses where the barrier of entry, the steps that were required to learn more were too high. And they weren't too high because they were especially difficult. They were too high because they involved I need to go someplace else to engage. And quite frankly, when I'm not thinking actively about that business, I'm not looking for ways to engage. That activity is relegated to a very few number of consumers out there. For the majority of consumers, if you're not hitting them right when they're engaging with you directly and providing other means to connect, you've lost that opportunity to do so. The other point out here are a couple of the plugins that allow us to be really flexible. We have items like our guest book, which allows us to initiate credentialed access. It gives us a little bit more control over our guest network. Through SMS, we have the opportunity to not just ask for a phone number, but to actually send a Wi-Fi code. Again, this gives us an opportunity to control access at a higher level. But you're going to see that gaining access to that phone number is really cool to one of our strategies of response. And that's also why web form is so powerful, because the web form gives us the opportunity to ask for very targeted information. I may have specialty programs that I want to utilize and I want to connect my guests to. I only need some very finite bits of information. Perhaps social media is not the best strategy for me, especially if your customer base is of an older generation who tend not to interact on social media as often and as willingly. So with a web form, I have the opportunity to ask for very targeted information. And this is really valuable. And then, of course, our click-through, which is a really important step because the click-through offers that anonymous access. It allows me to enter the network without obligation. As we talked about before, this is a really important idea. Providing a fulfilling experience, inviting interaction without obligation. You'll find that the large majority, in fact, of your customer base will not engage with you over Wi-Fi. Not in the context of actively sharing information through their plugins. But if we can get them on the network, we have an opportunity to engage with them. So let's take a look at splash page design, and let's understand how that's really possible. So with splash page design, this goes back to our first truth, which I would argue is our fundamental truth, that the brand is really the impressions that other people have of you. Your splash page is seen by your guests, and if it isn't representative of your brand, the way you perceive it, then they will not perceive it that way. They will believe whatever you show them. And that's why within Canvas, we've provided not just a web-hosted splash page designer, but really a way to create beautiful, stunning splash pages easily without the need for web design skills, and to provide a lot of flexibility so that you can really design it the way that you want to design it. You'll see here we provide some standard templates from which to work. And I'm just going to choose one here, Ren. I'll choose the Sarah fashion template. This is really modeled around a fashion store. You can see here that what these templates provide me with are not just a means to connect to the network. Here's our authentication plugins we talked about earlier. I have the opportunity to choose which plugins I need. You'll notice that with our professional templates, we have some additional plugins as well. A video, allowing me to embed a YouTube or Vimeo video, watch, and connect. A way for me to share information, to share activities the brand is involved with. And then there's a poll, the opportunity to ask a very targeted question to get an answer in order to sign on to the Wi-Fi. And this could be an amazing way to gather real customer feedback in the field. And these polls, supported by external services, can make it really easy to be dynamic and to correlate and collate all the data coming in. But what I really want to highlight with Canvas is the design aspect. You'll notice that anytime I hover over a certain item, I can change images. I can link them out. Here below, I have an image carousel. So especially for a physical product focused organization, this is an opportunity for me to show my products in right on the front page. It could also give me an opportunity to show my use, how people are leveraging them. And you'll see that it's really easy for me to customize, to add new items, to shift the position of these images. And I also want to highlight here that the template itself is not static. I have the opportunity to actually move these sections around. If I want to make sure that that image carousel is the very first thing my customers see, I'm going to implement it right here. I can shift the position of items within a particular layer. So for example, I want to highlight my loyalty program before my guests sign on. And we can even move items within objects wherever possible. The result is that I now have a splash page, as you see here, optimized for both laptop and for smartphone. And as I scroll through, I'm going to be able to hit my customer with all the pertinent information that they need before presenting with the option to sign on. This is really, really important for driving engagement because it's giving me an opportunity to communicate ideas, to communicate information and content, and to provide opportunities for my guests to interact, to click that link, to join, be a VIP, and direct them to that process automatically. So all of our splash pages are designed and fully optimized. You'll also notice here that I have the opportunity to download this splash page. So this is taking splash design to the next level. And we have customers that have recognized the importance of their brand and wanted to take the splash page and really, truly design it to their own aesthetic. And we can't encourage this. It's really important that should you have the skill, should you have the opportunity to take this template and really make it your own, go for it. It becomes a very, very effective way of extending that brand message. And it becomes a really great way of promoting new ideas and sharing content. The extension of a splash page is a landing page. And the landing page is really a content hub. This is the page that users are sent to after they connect. And although they're free to browse the web as desired, when you place them on this page, you're providing them with the opportunity to engage further. And you'll see here that we have some more advanced widgets that would allow for us to embed surveys, for example. But also other items. These buttons that persist throughout our pages allow us to embed lots of really great web content. Polls, surveys, and videos, anything that can be embeddable through an iframe can be leveraged here. We can also link out to Apple Wallet or the App Store or Google Play. If you're a particular business that is encouraging the use of a smartphone app or tablet app, here's an opportunity for us to not just advertise it, but to link those users directly to it. Right? And then we also have other items that allow us to, again, embed video, embed images, to link out, to provide advertising opportunities, perhaps for our vendors or for our partners. There's a lot of flexibility here, and the result is a user who has the opportunity to engage, that has a single place, a repository of content that is valuable to them. This is how we drive user engagement, by not just enticing users to interact with the content, but presenting it to them first and foremost, and giving them really great interactive ways to do it, again, without obligation. The ability to interact with this landing page is completely an individual experience, and it does not require necessarily the action of giving something in order to get it. So let's talk about response. We've been highlighting here a lot of different ways that we can present and really communicate our brand, develop a strong impression, invite engagement, and provide ways of interaction without obligation. But now I want to start responding. Now I want to get to the point where if my guests are acting a certain way, I want to reward that action. And in some cases, I want to even prevent that action. And that's where the idea of interception comes into play. So interception is the idea that when a website is visited, I have the opportunity to actually connect, or rather see certain websites that are that are being visited through the web session. I can list these websites here, and what's happening is my access point is on the alert. It's looking out for the requests that are going out to these sites. Now, these sites are top-level domains, so we're really looking to understand, is somebody going to perhaps my competitive homepage or competitor of mine and their homepage? Maybe they're going to an online marketplace. In some cases, we might even use website interception to just understand if they're going to some of our partners. Someone who might be interested in product A is very, very likely interested in our product. And if they're browsing for product A in our store, on our network, it's a perfect opportunity to remind them and to connect that idea. And so that's why interception is such a valuable technology, because it allows us to insert an idea right in the middle of your customer's own thinking process. So how do we insert that idea? We do it through SMS and MMS. SMS and MMS is a really amazing way to communicate because, for one, it intercepts and it interrupts. It doesn't necessarily stop them from doing what they're doing, but we all have smartphones. We know what it means to get a text message. In many cases, that text message pops up right up top, over top of, and it stops that experience, and it forces a reaction. And when we can use MMS rather than just a text message, here we have a way of being to communicate very loudly what we have to offer. Our MMS are designed within Canvas. If we take a look and we head back here, we can actually look at our coupon templates. And just like with our splash pages, these pages are interactive, but I have the ability to edit them, upload images, QR codes. If I really was feeling up to it, I can embed video. I mean, we can link out and we can do a lot here. But the idea is that by receiving this message, I'm planting an idea. I may be responding to that showrooming activity by indicating that don't leave yet, talk to a sales rep. We have ways of getting you a better price or getting you a better product. But this can also be used very strategically. One idea or one example we talked about was the idea of connecting the idea of external products with ours. You're browsing for this. Did you know that our product fits really well with that? You should check it out. But we've also seen some early applications where leveraging our interception is a strategic activity. We're inputting websites to track. And what we're doing is we're configuring our captive portal to redirect users to that website. Every single user that is connecting to our network is jumping on that website, and in return is receiving that message. And that message is communicating a very clear idea that leveraging our Wi-Fi is an opportunity to learn more and to get more. We're creating a behavior. We're encouraging our end users, our customers, to stop in when they're here. You're at the mall, stop by our store, connect to the Wi-Fi. You may find that there's something there that you're looking for. If we're doing that, if we've created that behavior, all of a sudden now our splash pages and landing pages, the content that resides within them are so much more powerful. And the likelihood that our customers will engage on those platforms is much higher. It's a positive feedback loop. And so that's where interception becomes so powerful. Interception is also really valuable just in the context of analytics, because we can list our websites even if we decide that for a certain period of time we're not interested in responding. We can still see how many of our customers are going to those sites. So if we're actually not sure if our competitor sites are being visited while in store, we won't know that showrooming is actually happening. This is an opportunity for us to learn, to do some investigative work, and not rely on our gut or on anecdotal evidence, but to make true, smart, data-driven decisions. The other last idea that I want to talk about today is injection. Now, injection is the idea of inputting custom script into a web browser session. And I want to highlight a campaign that I have here. Let me just log in real quick. What I have within my campaign manager is the opportunity to create banner ads and overlays that the customer can interact while they browse the web. So this is me at your facility. I'm browsing the web. Perhaps my wife is shopping. Perhaps I'm shopping. Perhaps my kids are shopping. Whatever the case may be, as I select my location, you can see here that just like our platform throughout, I'm organizing it on a per location basis, and I can create my campaigns accordingly. My campaigns are defined by the ads that are associated to them, by the time in which they're made available. This allows me to do planning. I can plan around seasons and product launches. I can plan around special events. And as I mentioned, there's really two major ways for us to interact. The first is through ads. Now, ads are passive. They're banners that appear at the bottom of the screen. I can choose a varying degree of size and platform type to focus on. And they're very simple: a target URL and an image that I can attach. And this ad is passive. It does not interrupt the session, but it's persistent. It shows up time and time again. The end user can close the banner, but it will reappear within a few minutes' time. So it's a slow, steady reminder about this particular activity, this particular brand or product. And again, these become really great advertising opportunities. We also have overlays. Now, overlays interrupt. Overlays provide me with an opportunity to present content, be it a video, a survey, custom HTML. There are a lot of options that we have to embed within this particular overlay. But what's really great about the overlay is that it provides me with an opportunity to interrupt. And as you see here, I can actually control how long the overlay is present, whether or not the end user can click out of it, and if so, how long they have to wait before that happens. This is exactly the way that YouTube functions, and has found that from an advertising perspective, it's really, really effective to have the end user watch something for a short period of time, give them the opportunity to skip, but not always. And that depends on the level, and it depends on exactly what you're trying to communicate. And in many cases, that little bit, that 5 seconds or 10 seconds that they watch, is enough to keep them hooked through the rest of the experience. And then finally, we can start to customize. And just like we've talked about throughout, the ability to pull out of the system and to work on your own terms is really, really important. And we have ways of inputting custom code that allow for our banner ads to be more than just an image. With the few minutes that we have left today, I want to actually show you some video of these activities in action, so that you can firsthand look at what this type of activities look like. And we're going to start with this in-browser messaging, this injection. Now you're going to see here that on my iPad, I've connected to a network, and the way that I connect to the network, the means by which I connect, in this case, is independent. Click through, web form, social media, it does not matter. Look below and see that the ad first appears. Here's a Mojo Networks ad that created, really simple. It links out to our page. Now I want to highlight down below. I pause for just a moment. This is an example of our custom code. We call it an ad source. It's an opportunity for us to be creative. And in this case, what I've done is I've created a menu. Now, just like an ad, these menus are persistent. They're passive. And what you'll see here is that by touching the menu items, and I'll press play so you can see it in action, I have the opportunity to engage, in this case, promoting my app, connecting users to social media, or browsing through my website. No matter where the customer browses, they can use the menu to come back to my page, and as you see there, click in and learn more about what's going on. So this is really powerful because, again, we have a lot of options here. We can customize, and we can really be creative with the ways that we engage. Now we're going to take a look at an example of an overlay. So again, I browse to a website. Really doesn't matter which site I go to. In this case, the overlay pops up. I have to wait before I can close it out. I have a video that can be presented. You can configure it to autoplay if you'd like, but it's an opportunity for me now to engage, to view this piece of content as I choose. And when I'm done with it, I can click it out. And these are the types of options that we have with in-browser messaging that can be really, really powerful. And again, don't require obligation, but allow for a user who's lingering, who's spending time to be reminded of different ways that they can engage and offer opportunities to engage. So here we're going to look at the SMS MMS trigger, our intercepting. So the first thing I need to do, of course, is to connect to the network. So here I've entered a phone number. I'm connecting in this case. We can use the web form as well so that the code doesn't come in necessarily, but we have the opportunity to grab the phone number. That's a really important idea. In this case, I've set Amazon as my triggering website. So as I browse, as I'm just looking through various products, the process is going through. And what we'll see in just a moment is my MMS trigger. Here, I received this. It's interrupted my session. It's grabbed my attention. I've opted for MMS in this case because it's visually appealing. And here, it's communicating that there's a red code. There's a code that I can use to walk up to the cashier. I could show this information, and that particular salesperson could help me out, could leverage that code, or perhaps QR code to scan. You'll notice that the link is provided as well, so that in some cases, depending upon platform type, if the image doesn't show, they can gain access to it. But with these examples of response, with all the splash page and landing pages that we can create, this entire experience becomes immersive. It becomes full-bodied, and what's most important is that it's completely on the terms of your customer. If you're interested in creating an environment that encourages interaction and provides a compelling experience and compelling benefits, that is really looking to help your customers learn by providing examples and knowledge about your products and services, this is a way to do it. And this is a way to do it on the terms of the customer so that they have the opportunity to further that engagement once they feel comfortable doing so. And that truly is the key to driving user engagement. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. I want to open up the field to questions. I hope this was informative. Also want to highlight that for those of you who have come for the first time, we are still promoting our Get Your Free AP program. Erica can tell you more. Again, thank you so much for your time today, and really look forward to talking to you guys next.
Great. Thank you so much, Sean, for that great presentation and demonstration. I'd like to open it up for some questions. We had a couple come in here during the presentation, but while we wait, I also wanted to review how to get your free access points. So as Sean mentioned, we're still running this program for all of those first-time attendees or anyone who has not received an access before from Mojo Networks or Airtight. We are offering a free 802.11ac access point with 1 year of cloud services. So we'll be contacting you to confirm shipping details, and one of your Mojo rep will be reaching out. So please respond to our email or phone call so we can get that in the mail for you. If you have any questions or you want some additional information, you can feel free to contact us at either the phone number listed on the screen, or you can send an email to myrep@mojonetworks.com. And Sean, I know there were a couple of questions. One of them came in, and I believe it's around splash pages, whether or not there's a way to add additional objects to the page. So what I've asked is the attendee if they can kind of divulge a little bit more if they're referring to specific custom images in the splash pages. But if you don't mind taking that while we wait for some additional questions or for context on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're referring to adding additional items, so I want to add new elements, this is definitely possible. Within the context of Canvas, however, we work within the template. This is really from a usability perspective to make sure that it's easy to interact with and easy to engage. But for those customers that want to add new elements, that's why we provide an opportunity to download the bundle directly. The bundle is a combination of HTML, CS, and JavaScript files that collectively function the splash page. And that would be the way to add new elements, to incorporate items that are not predefined within Canvas. Would be to download that bundle, to make those modifications, and then to collect and re-upload for use throughout Guest Manager and for other purposes.
Can you share an example of how Wi-Fi analytics can be used?
Yeah. Let me. I'll share an experience I had with a customer of mine. So a customer of mine, I won't name them just for the privacy's sake, but they were looking to implement their restaurant group. They're about 750 restaurants strong, a fast food environment, and they were playing with the idea of online ordering. Uh, they thought that it might help to increase sales. They thought that it might help to bring a new business, as all new ventures do. And they were looking for ways to pilot and to test. And being a very data-driven organization, they were looking to see how their Mojo Networks installation could help them make a better decision to really understand whether or not online ordering could work. The challenge was that online ordering, being a credit card only function, is very trackable. And that was an appeal, again, to this data driven organization. But in restaurant, they have a tremendous number of cash sales. And what they were, what I worked with was realizing was that relying solely on POS statistics may paint the wrong picture, because someone or some people who are in love with the online ordering program, and so much so that they start coming into the restaurant more regularly, but only spending cash while they're in store, would not get picked up, and they would not know the impact that the online ordering program had. So we looked at stores that were running the pilot, and we found similar stores in similar regions that were not running the pilot. And we leveraged our Wi-Fi analytics. Again, these analytics, which are based off of passive scanning, the presence of certain Wi-Fi clients. We don't know who they are. The MAC addresses are obfuscated, but we just know that X number of unique Wi-Fi clients were present in the day and for a certain length of time. And with that small bit of information, we were able to run a baseline, understand and look at the parallels between these two areas, the pilot group and the control group, before the pilot, during the pilot, and after the pilot. And what we found was that once the pilot began, and did not take very long, we saw an increase overall in the total number of Wi-Fi clients present, in the total number of net new Wi-Fi clients relative to the 3-month baseline that was set prior, and a growth in the number of repeat visits, specifically 2 visits and 3 visits in a single month. The pilot ran for 3 months, and after the pilot completed, although the numbers dipped on the side of the stores where the pilot was removed, overall their baseline was higher than the control groups. The control groups left a pretty steady number of users throughout that 9-month period. So with that information and their POS statistics that really helped to show them more specifics about whether sales were happening online first or in store or vice versa, collectively, they were able to determine that the pilot program was in fact a success. Implementing that program had a direct effect on they were able to infer that the implementation of that program had an effect on the total number of people that came to the restaurant on any given day and came back. And that was compared to other stores that were not impacted, did not have the pilot. And the POS statistics helped them as well. And today they have that program. They've implemented it store-wide, nationwide. And that was one way where our Wi-Fi analytics helped make a data-driven decision and really helped to inform a large program so that the business could thrive. And this was not the IT group that was thriving necessarily. This was the business as a whole.
Great. Thank you for that example, Sean. There are some additional requests here around some documentation or information on how to set up Flash and landing pages. And I also wanted to take the time to let everyone know in the chat window, I have provided a link to download just a quick overview and data sheet of Mojo engagement, of our engagement feature on the platform. And it does talk about splash pages and Canvas, but at a very high level. So if there's anyone you want to share that with internally, please feel free to download that. And it is from our website. Sean, would we be able to connect after the webinar and provide the attendees with any documentation or information on setting up Canvas?
Yes, that's absolutely possible. My strong encouragement would be to reach out to your Mojo Network rep. They'll be able to get you in touch with your regional sales engineer, who will walk you through that process on a one-to-one basis. We also have some resources online that can help, some guides that we've created that document the process. But really, getting hands-on is the best way possible. So for those of you who are current customers, awesome, you have access to it. Dive in deep. For those who are not, call the number on the screen or send an email to myrep@mojonetworks.com. That's the best way to get hands-on training and learning about how to set up certain splash pages.
Perfect. Thank you, Sean. And it looks like all the questions that we have today. So again, I wanted to take the time to thank everyone for joining. We understand your schedules are busy, and an hour of your time is very precious. So we are very appreciative of your time. And again, thank you, Sean, for a terrific presentation. This session has been recorded and will be available on our website for download within the next couple of days. So if any of your colleagues or anyone was unable to attend, they can go ahead to the website and enter their email address and first and last name and be able to watch this on demand. So thank you again, everyone, for your time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody.